Hope you can. I've got a tie on. Look, just to
Oh,
show
I
you
love it when you got a tie on. It's got to
my
be
hair.
good.
Put a tie on.
Well, how smart do you look, Mr.
Where are you? There you are.
Right, you
Can you
see?
hear me?
I can hear
Hang
you.
on. I can't hear you because I'm trying to get my speaker working here. Hang on.
Can you hear me at the back, Mother? It's got to be good. We look as though we're going to go to a graduation service. Look at us. There you go. How smart.
Can I hear you now?
I can hear you now.
No, I don't think so for some reason. Hello, 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 hello.
I can hear you. You're trying to get your speakers working. Let's have a look.
That's what I think. Oh.
Oh, no. You've got to plug your headphones in. It's got to be good.
Look at that. Look, hey?
Now that's your look. Can you hear me now, Mother?
I can, yes. There we are. I thought you always look smart, so I thought I will actually put a tie on.
Oh, I quite like this because look, we look as though we're sort of part of the election, don't we? Because you're in your blue and I'm in my red. Not that necessarily means anything at all, but we do look terribly smart, don't we?
We look electoral.
We do. And whatever's going on, there are no elections going on at the moment, are there, Mike?
Not that I know of. Certainly not here. No.
Certainly not here yet. But
I think in the colonies somewhere.
I think in the colony, and it will dictate and dominate world headlines. But they're missing the big story, and the big story is this: there has been a vote. The votes have been cast. The number one on Amazon, no less, is the fabulous Mike Reed. Come on.
Well, yeah. Come on. Oh, no, there's nobody here.
This is like a big fanfare now.
Yeah, what is amazing is that book on Cliff, somebody said, have you seen Amazon? I said, no, I went on. And there it was number one in music business, number 10 in something else. So it's on 3 charts, number 13 in something else. And I thought, that's great. I don't even have a hard copy myself yet. And somebody said, could you send me one? I said, I haven't even got one for me, you know. Anyway.
It's quite extraordinary, but number one with Cliff at 80, which is fantastic. And you've had a relationship where you've known Cliff for, half a century, isn't it?
Yeah, I first met him circa 75. And really that was through the fact that I had some demos and a friend of mine said, oh, I like this. Could I borrow them on cassette? And he came back, he said, oh, my girlfriend really likes them. And I thought, well, that's 2 people. I'm gradually winning him over 1 at a time. And he said, could she hang on to it and play them to her dad? And I thought, 3 people, this is good. It's getting to be a crowd now. And it turned out her dad was David Bryce, who was one of Cliff's managers. Absolutely. And I went round to his place, cycled round there, and he said, we like these. I played these to Peter Gormley, Cliff's manager, and we'd like to sort of take you on board as part of that. Wow, yes, please. So we're going up to Harley House, where you live now. I mean, it was a spooky thing. That is spooky that you live in the building where I went, and I walked in, and on the wall there were gold discs for Cliff, the Shadows, Olivia Newton-John, John Rolls, the New Seekers. And I thought, wow, I've arrived. And Peter Gormley said, Mike, welcome to the family. And I thought, oh, I've made it. I'm going to catch a taxi back to Waterloo. I've cracked it. Well, one thing and another, and I ended up going into radio. But yeah, I sort of remained sort of part of their family in a way. So yeah, so I did my first interview with Cliff, in the mid-70s, and he came to local radio 76, I think. And so yeah.
I know, it's fantastic. And that sort of thing, because so often, you've met everybody in showbiz, having been an icon, still are an icon, a radio broadcasting legend, as I always introduce you.
Where do you get these phrases from?
Thesaurus, you wait. Check should be in the post until it bounces. It's always a thing.
Okay.
But what I love about it, Mike, is that it is a genuine friendship, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Cliff lives abroad now, so his friends over here don't see him quite as much. But yeah, we used to have tennis every Saturday afternoon, and which is fun. Everyone would bring a few buns and cakes, and we'd have a bit of tea, and then play some more tennis. And yeah, Christmas, Cliff would have us around on Christmas Eve day and New Year's Day and stuff like that. And then another night he'd have the Salvation Army around there singing carols. So, and a summer party. He'd always have a summer party, which is always fancy dress.
Right.
And Cliff always managed to look great. I'm sure he did the fancy dress parties around something he thought, I found this great Robin Hood outfit and like a like sort of matinee idol moustache. So
Right.
he was Robin Hood, and that was the Wild West one. That was no, there was a Wild West one where he went as a cowboy and looked really cool, and I came as a cactus and looked a complete twit. You know, like that. It had all this green baize over me and cocktail sticks sticking out of me and a little gap here so I could see and breathe. And people kept coming up and saying, "You all right? Would you like a drink?" And I said, "I'm a cactus. I don't drink very much." And eventually I had to get out of it. I couldn't spend all evening as a cactus. It was, you know, not really easy to converse, to eat sandwiches, to drink and stuff like that. But yeah, he had a...
You missed the trick there, Mike. You could have doubled up. I used to love when you used to make those hedgehogs. Do you remember those? And you used to put the sticks on. You put your pineapple and your cheese.
Yes.
And that used to be the highlight of parties. You could have done that with your cactus.
I could have put the pineapple on the inside and the cheese on the inside. Didn't think about that. What I did was we blue tacked the inside and have the stick sticking out like that. So I didn't think, yeah, you're right. You know, if only you'd been my manager at the time, I could have had cheese and pineapple all night.
The whole career, it could have been so different.
Yeah.
It was always a thrill. But Cliff, I mean, people always know the Peter Pan of pop. And you know me, I'm amazing alliteration. I love those. Always a fan of alliterations. He always seems incredibly young and always reinvents himself. And people forget just how huge a star he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's run the gamut really from 58 to now. I mean, and there are various reasons. It's having a good manager. Peter Gormley was a great manager. They never had a contract. It was a handshake, you know, and Peter said, "Cliff, if ever you don't need me to manage you, just walk away, mate." You know, and that was it. No litigation, no legality, and it was terrific. They were brilliant for each other. And the other thing was Cliff picking songs that were the best songs around. He always said that, as Sinatra did, as Elvis did. He said, "Well, I'm a singer. I'm not a writer. I'll sing the best songs." Now everyone wants to write. Some people can. Some people, okay, they write diary songs and what have you, but. People think it's a little uncool now to sing a song written by a professional songwriter. They want to write their own songs. And as such, they don't make as much money a lot of the time, unless you're a major artist, because you're not getting covers. Quite often, if back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you wrote a song that everybody loved, it would be covered by so many people. And that was a good way of earning a living for a songwriter. And Cliff always said, "Look, I'm not a writer. I've occasionally written a few things, but I will sing the best songs that are around. Send them to me, and I will pick the very best songs." And that was really contributed to his longevity.
Yeah. And also, I mean, he had not just a career, obviously, and still have a fantastic career in music, but also he was a big movie star.
Yeah, I mean, I think sort of he initially with things like Espresso Bongo and Serious Charge, he didn't want to be the main star. He was happy being a co-star or in the cast, because then he didn't feel he was shouldering the responsibility of selling the film. That if the film didn't go, oh, it was Cliff's fault, oh, I didn't sell because of him. So he's quite happy to be a co-star and let a Lawrence Harvey or someone take the main stage. And then suddenly up came the young ones. And Cliff always said while they were making it, he said that was a magic. And you know this with anything, whether you've got a film or a song or a book, everyone just looks at each other and goes, oh, or a TV series, we've got something here. And you just know, whether there's a potential. It might not be a big sale, but you know you've got something magical. And he said when they were doing the young ones, he said they all just sat around, they looked at each other, and they just knew they had something very, very special with the young ones, and that triggered him off. And when that was a success, of course, and the single straight to #1, then he felt that he could be the star of the film. And the Wonderful Life, Finders Keepers, and all these the Summer Holiday, of course.
Holiday, fantastic. It's got to be that sort of glorious moment. But also, I mean, he keeps reinventing himself. He moved from that sort of pop side into the gospel side as well. Talk to me about that transition.
I think he felt initially, Licorice Locking was bass player with the Shadows, and he was a Jehovah's Witness, as Hank became as well. And I think Cliff's mum was Jehovah's Witness at some point. I can't remember. I think so. Anyway, he sort of got interested, and some of his friends were teachers, people like Bill Latham and what have you. So he talked to people about spirituality in the future and stuff like that, and felt that that this was probably something that could see him through his career, or help him in his career, or help him understand various things. Don't forget he'd not long lost his father and things like that. And you start asking questions. So yeah, and he very bravely came out at Billy Graham's extravaganza and went on stage, in his horn rim glasses, talking about his faith, which was very brave, because a lot of people at the time said, "Oh, that's just going to nail his career. That's absolutely going to kill it." They won't buy his records now. So he was very brave in doing that. And then, I mean, he's always raised a lot of money very quietly for Tear Fund without being a Pharisee in the marketplace. And then lastly, in the late 60s, I think he was out in Africa, and then he said, "Look, I've been singing, but I really, now I've seen the poverty out here, I want to come out here and help. I want to change direction." At one point, I think he thought he might be a teacher or something. Then he thought, well, maybe I can come out to Africa and help. And then somebody said, "Well, are you an engineer?" And he said, "Well, no, I'm not." They said, "Well, can you, divine for water?" He said, No. They said, "Are you a doctor at all? Have you got any medical qualifications?" No. They said, "Well, why don't you go back to the UK, do a tour, make money, and send it to us, because we're all qualified to do that." And he thought, you know what? That's right. That's how I can help best.
Yeah, and he is glorious. I saw him perform at Greenwich, the wonderful naval college down there.
Yeah.
He's so on top of his game still, isn't he?
Yeah, he's always been good on stage. Some people go on stage and they stand there, they sing their songs, very good. But Cliff gives it everything on stage. He uses the stage. He communicates with the audience. I think that's one of his major things. He will stand there and talk, and the audience all feel they're talking to them personally. I mean, one of his problems, I think, in touring and being on stage is there are a number of songs that he has to do, that the audience will expect. They expect We Don't Talk Anymore. They expect Devil Woman. They expect Move It. They expect Living Doll. They expect The Young One. So when he's got, half an hour or more of songs that he cannot get away without singing, he's then got some of the new songs that he needs to sing, which leaves him a small segment like this to fill with other songs that he quite fancies doing from his catalogue. And there are so many. It's not what do you put in, it's what do you leave out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when I saw him, he did one of Robin Gibb's songs, "Don't Cry Alone," and so emotional. I chatted to Cliff afterwards about it, because they were very close as well. Do you remember that relationship?
Yeah, I remember going to Cliff's rehearsals at what was the old Peak Freen factory in southeast London. And I said, this is the old Peak Freen factory. He said, "No, what, they made the biscuits." He said, "Oh, we used to have those biscuits." And I said, "Yeah, over there on the wall, there's a plaque saying this is the old Peak Freen factory." And I looked down his playlist, and there was "Don't Cry Alone," which had been on Robin's last album. And I only had the album because Robin and I wrote a song, and RJ, we wrote a song on that. And so I said, "Oh, is that Robin's Don't Cry Alone?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh." I said, "That is the most wonderful song." I said, "Robin has, terrific pathos in his voice." And he said, "Oh, yeah, it's a beautiful song." So I remember phoning up Dwayne, Robin's wife, and saying, "Hey, Cliff's doing Don't Cry Alone on the tour. How wonderful is that?" But yeah, I mean, both great singers, both big song catalogs. I mean, extraordinary. I mean, quite often, you like someone and you can be friendly with someone, but when you're rock and roll artists, unless you live close to each other, unless there's some sort of geography that binds you together, you probably see each other occasionally on the road, and you're going into one green room in a theater and someone else coming out, "Oh, hello, mate. Oh, mate, great to see you. What are you doing? Oh, so-and-so. Well, we must catch up sometime." And it's a bit of that, really, unless you're close enough to have, a different kind of relationship and, go around and have supper and stuff like that.
Yeah, and being such, he seems on screen and off screen to be, everybody says he's such a wonderful, genuine guy. He must have been devastated the way that the press treated him.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think he's pretty much covered that now, and said what he's got to say. And it's always difficult, talking about that on someone else's behalf when it's such a very, very personal feeling to them. But yeah, you could see. I mean, anyone is devastated by injustice. Not only if there is injustice, that's bad enough. We all hate that. But if it's injustice and you can't answer it for another year or 18 months, that is desperate. I mean, and you could see the pain etched on his face at the time.
Yeah, and you were talking to him during this time. What sort of advice did you give him?
I don't think you give anyone advice. I think I just email, and just say, "Hey, whatever. And I know Gloria Hunniford talked to him a lot, and other friends did as well. So I think for him, it was just people being there. You don't necessarily want to get on the phone to somebody if they're having a bad time. I've never always made a point of not doing that. You know, if you read about someone having a bad time, I never get on the phone and go, "Oh, really sorry you're having a bad time," because they don't want to be reminded, because they know they're having a bad time. So they maybe want to talk about something else. Maybe they want to talk about it. You don't know really. I mean, I think 2 years ago when I did an interview with Cliff for his Rise Up album, we spent the whole morning together, and I thought, right, I'm not going to even mention any of that. But Cliff sort of wanted to talk about it before we did the interview for an hour, you know, and it can be a cathartic thing to get it out of your system.
Yeah, and being so close, I think that does make a difference. And as you say, you interviewed him, you've grown up for half a century, which is extraordinary, since the mid-70s. What have been your favourite moments of Cliff?
I don't know really. I do remember, and I'm interviewing him next week. Actually, we're doing an interview in the studio, and I was going to talk about. I remember when he was 40, being at the ACG, the Christian Arts Centre group, and Kenny Everett was there. I think it was Kenny who said, he's 40. How long can he go on? You know, so I thought I'll mention that next week to him when I talk to him. But yeah, I mean, and then throughout the different birthdays, I thought, wow, there he's still going. Yeah, he's still going. Yeah, he's still going. But it's great. I mean, highlights for me, obviously, have been when Cliff sung one of my songs. He sung 3 of my songs. And that's always a highlight, because he is one of our great singers. And it's like Elvis or Sinatra doing your songs. You think, yes. You know, as the Beatles always said, they said, we felt we'd have made it when Sinatra did one of our songs, even though we were the Beatles and we traveled the world. If Sinatra did one of our songs, and then Paul said, and would you believe he did one of George's, something. He said, you know, Lennon and McCartney, you think, if only we could get it. And in the end, he did one of George's songs, something. So yeah, it's always a great thrill when you play someone a song. It's a pitch. No one's doing you a favor as the mate. You play a song, and with Cliff, I'd make a separate appointment, not off the back of a tennis game. Oh, I've got this song. It's a separate appointment, go out purely business. Cup of tea, yeah, play the song. If he likes it, play it again. Got the lyrics? Yeah. And I know as soon as you pick the lyrics up, he starts singing along, he's maybe in there. And then a third time, and he's singing with it, you think, yeah, and he likes this. I think I played him only 4 songs. People often ask me, say, oh, could you take this song to Cliff? Could you play this song to Cliff? I know it's right for him. And it's very difficult because you get dozens and dozens of those. And I've had people say, oh, I'll give you a writing credit if you can get it to him. I said, I don't want a writing credit. I'm a songwriter. If I didn't write the song, why would I want my name on it? You know, that's fraudulent. I wouldn't want that. So, yeah, I played him 4 songs in all, I think, and he's done 3 of them, which is a pretty good strike rate. And the whole thing for pitching a song is, if you have a good strike rate with an artist, you can go back again and again and again if you've got a good strike rate. If you play them 12 songs and none of them are right for them, they go, oh, there he comes with a 13th song that's not right for me. So it's a bit like business. The more you get it right, the more someone will open the door and say, yep, you know, come in, Andrew, we've done business before and it worked.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And you were supposed to be in Barbados around this sort of time. Is Cliff over there at the moment in lockdown?
No, he's over here. He was finishing some vocals in New York, came over here, had to do 2 weeks quarantine. And then I think he's here till about mid-November. Yes, it's certainly here till the end of next week because I'm interviewing him next week. So yeah, then he's back over there. And I think the Barbados situation at the moment, because I was meant to be over there a few weeks ago doing programs, I think is you hold up for a couple of days before they let you back. I think they've only had something like 9 deaths on the island.
It has been, and every death is obviously tragic. I mean, I was over there, as you know, at the beginning of the year and popped round to Cliff's place. He didn't know, but it was glorious there. And it's a fantastic place. A lot of people go there for Christmas and that sort of stuff. It is a wonderful, wonderful island. And we're talking future episodes about your connections with that sort of side. But the one thing you've managed to escape, Mike, is you impersonate everybody brilliantly. So, and I have yet to hear your impersonation of Cliff. So maybe we're finished with my usual question about how Cliff Richard would like to be remembered. And Mike Reed, in a Cliff Richard voice, you can finish the show on that.
Well, it's funny you should say that because, no, seriously, Cliff's mum used to say, "Oh, do your Cliff impression?" And Cliff would say, "Mum, I do a better impression than he does." But no, coming out of the voice again, Cliff, I did say to Cliff, one day in the distant future, when it's time for your blue plaque, where would you like it? Of all the places you've been, all the places you lived, all the places you performed, and without missing a beat, Cliff said, "The Two Eyes Coffee Bar."
Absolutely. I mean, fantastic place. And we've been down there just on Old Compton Street. Fantastic place. And it's still there. It's now a Poppy's Fish and Chip shop, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've got the sign back up. The sign that says Two Eyes Coffee Bar is back up. So you can go downstairs. But it's a tiny little place. I mean, a hellhole in terms of fire escapes. Maybe better now, probably, because it'd have to be. But back in the day, you probably have 250 people crammed into a cellar with one small staircase as the only means of escape. And everyone was smoking probably as well. It was probably just thick fug.
Yeah, it's quite short. And I had John Allison on the show fairly recently, who had the Eurovision Song Competition winner. And he came second. He came second to somebody from France, but he did very well with that sort of side.
They were our entry, yeah, and I think they had number 2 over here with Are You Sure, Bob and John. They were from Parsons Green near Fulham. That's where they began singing in a youth club. They did that, and they have a link with Cliff because they released Lessons in Love from the Young Ones as a single. Cliff sang it in the Young Ones originally, and they covered it and had a hit with it.
Right. But also when you go into the Two Eyes Coffee Bar, even now, the membership card, which has been blown up, is John Allison's membership card, which is how I say
Oh, is it? Oh, wonderful.
So you have So Cliff, then, how do you think he would like to be remembered?
I think with a blue plaque. I think he'd like to be remembered for his music. I think anyone would. It's a difficult question to answer on behalf of somebody else. But I think, your music is a phenomenal legacy. That's whatever he wants, that's what he'll be remembered by, his music. It's like if you do TV and films, if you're in Dad's Army, whatever else you've done, that's what you're remembered for. So people will pick certain things. We'd all like to be remembered, as a serious artist that did it. No, they weren't. The big films, Summer Holiday and the Young Ones, and the big songs, and it's a phenomenal legacy because it keeps you alive. Again, when you watch Dad's Army, I think only one of them is still alive. And yet they all seem larger than life on the TV, and we imagine them in some ways still being alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mike Reid, always a pleasure to catch up. Congratulations. The other great legacy is the fact that your book, We're All About the Wonderful Cliff Richard at 80, is #1 on Amazon again. So many congratulations on that. And congratulations to Cliff, Sir Cliff, on his 80th birthday. Mike Reid, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks, Andrew.
Take care. Bye-bye.